Kia ora and welcome to the Beer Jack Beer of the Week Drink Along. I'm Matt.
I'm Luke.
I'm Joe.
This week we are drinking a beer by Small Gods and it is the Arms Race.
Ooh, arms race.
What's the Arms Race?
It's a big, very bitter. How bitter?
100 IBUs.
Big, bitter West Coast IPA, isn't it? Not a cold IPA.
Yep, West Coast IPA. So this is basically a double IPA as they were, 10 years ago when beer was bitter and clear and you could see right through it. In the kind of traditional California style.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers. So, it's a double IPA brewed with some really classic West Coast American hops. It's got Amarillo, Centennial, Cascade, and Cryo Citra in there. So, really bringing that kind of piney, citrusy, resinous, bitey West Coast character that made IPAs what they were back in the day.
I love that we're getting to that age where we're just like reminiscing about how great things used to be. But also, because we have a brewing company, we have the ability to recreate things as they used to be.
Yeah.
Beautiful bitter resinous. Old-fashioned beer fans, like us watching this, may recognise a bit of an homage in the artwork to the Arms Race to a little beer by Russian River. So in 1999, Russian River, which was owned by a winery at that point, released a beer called Pliny the Elder. Should be Pliny the Elder, but their system will get Pliny the Elder. But again, old men ranting about things.
And Pliny is credited as being the original double IPA. Until that point, IPAs had been they'd been evolving and growing, and that in that West Coast style. Stone IPA would have been around at that time and kind of building up that kind of classic West Coast IPA profile. But then Pliny came in and kind of really blew the doors off with the level of bitterness, the resinous character of the hops, the alcohol level, and really took IPAs to the next level and kind of stretched what was possible.
And it took a long time for the rest of the world to catch on to this new age of craft beer and of super hoppy stuff. So this was 1999, and it wasn't until like 2008 that Brewdog really kicked things off in Britain. Yeah. And obviously there have always been great breweries in Britain, but the whole American-inspired thing, Thornbridge were doing cool stuff. There were some people around the country, but it was really, it was Brewdog in sort of 06 and 08 when they first got into Tesco's. And then here in New Zealand, it's like, well, when did Epic kick off? That was probably 2010?
Yeah, a long time after this. And I guess in New Zealand, Epic and Hop Zombie would be another kind of beer along the same kind of lineage, where Luke from Epic really, especially in the early days, was a major champion of hoppy beers in New Zealand and kind of brought this style of double IPAs and those kind of West Coast beers. And like I said, 10 years ago when I got into the industry, that was what was hot. That was what was going on. It was beers along these lines. But it kind of faded away now.
And it kind of was an arms race. Do you remember those days?
Yeah.
All the bitter.
The IBU arms race, yeah. Everyone was trying to go bigger and more bitter than each other. Sort of led to a lot of very, very good beer around that sort of 2014 period, didn't it?
And of course it swung too far, like things always do. And also led to a lot of one-dimensional beer. And I remember at the time just thinking imagine if cake companies were in competition to have the sweetest cake. Yeah. There's more to IPA than bitterness. And there were some, as I said, one-dimensional, pretty crap beers that were just too bitter and stupid.
And like I say, not being one-dimensional was a key kind of is a key component of a successful double IPA. And I'm really happy with the malt character that we've been able to deliver in this beer. So we don't actually have a huge amount of specialty malt in here. It's a fairly clean and simple malt base. But one of the things that we have been able to do is we boiled it for 2 hours to really kind of emphasize that malt character, get some of those Maillard reactions where you get the sugars in the malt caramelizing, and creating that kind of deeper sweetness and depth to the flavor profile without sending it into a cloyingly oversweet, sometimes tasting oxidized character that you can get from overuse of crystal malts and stuff like that, which would have been the more traditional approach back in the day, but has kind of fallen out of fashion in more recent years. So this is probably slightly cleaner and on the malt base than some of the others would have been traditionally, but it does still have that sweetness to bring some balance to it.
And that is a major thing, that the crystal has just gone so far out of fashion, and especially here in New Zealand, and a lot of people will have a beer that's got some crystal malt in there, and jump to the conclusion that it's faulted.
Yeah.
Because that flavour profile isn't too far away from a fault. So definitely, when there have been beers that have had a bit of crystal malt in there, I've definitely heard beer drinkers.
Yeah, for sure. And especially because the style now is kind of shifted towards that lean California style IPA, often using Pilsner malt, wheat, rice, and that kind of sweetness and malt character has largely disappeared from the IPA category. It's still present in a few here and there, but it's definitely kind of out of fashion, which is what we do at Small Gods.
We do unfashionable beers. Yeah, love a brand beer.
Yeah.
Would you say the long boil was a big contributor to the mouthfeel of this beer as well? It's such a slick, but it's not slickness from the alcohol. It's just a really lovely body to it.
Yeah, well, I think the long boil does do that. I mean, just like when you reduce a sauce or slow cook something at home, you get liquid boiling off, which increases the viscosity. But I wouldn't underplay the impact of the alcohol on that. And alcohol is huge for mouthfeel and body in beers. So I think it's a combination of both factors, as well as the mash temperature, and that kind of can all contribute to adding that body, which again contributes to the balance.
And that alcohol, that plays a big part in the beers that we choose to brew.
Yeah.
And at Small Gods, I'm pretty happy saying that at Small Gods we're not going to make a low alcohol IPA, because that's what an IPA is. It needs the alcohol to carry it.
That's what table beer is for.
Exactly, yeah. There are really gorgeous, delicious styles that can be 2 and 3%, but I've got no fucking interest drinking a 2.5% IPA. That's just not what it is.
Yeah.
We brew things to the ABV, and sorry, it's 9.3%.
I'm not sorry. Deal with
it. Just enjoy it, have a good time. Maybe nurse it a little bit.
Yeah.
We're talking about the artwork for Pliny before. I've just been holding this in between my knees for the last 10 minutes, so I forgot to get that before. So that's the if you've never seen Pliny the Elder, that's the sort of little bit of an homage in our artwork there.
Yeah, and as you can see, sort of the colours are kind of very inspired by Pliny, and the recipe, and it's a beer that we look up to.
Important beer.
Yeah, it's the kind of the beer that kicked off the IBU arms race. But in the artwork, you might see another reference, which is to the nuclear arms race. So those of you who got onto the Oppenheimer side of the Barbenheimer train last year will have been familiar with the arms race that happened in the mid-20th century, as kind of nuclear proliferation spread, particularly between Russia and the United States. And so kind of mirroring that original actual arms race with the IBU arms race from in craft beer was kind of our little nod there, with what we've done on the art, and kind of a Los Alamos-y kind of what have I done red object of power in the sky kind of vibe.
Definitely. And I love these sort of a little person with a strange landscape. It's like I'm the Tun, like I'm Jupiter's Veil.
Hexenhaus?
Yeah, Hexenhaus is the little witch on there.
Yeah.
So I quite like putting little characters in scary situations in artwork. And we did a few IPAs now. It took us a while at Small Gods to do our first IPA.
Yeah.
It was Elvis Juice, right, the first one?
Yes, we might be wrong about that, but I think Elvis Juice was the first one.
In collaboration with Boat Rocker out of Melbourne. And because I suppose we like brewing beers that we don't see around, beers that are unusual styles that other people aren't making. But a couple of years ago we realised that lots of people are not making West Coast IPAs.
Yeah.
So there was, so we've been doing quite a few cold IPAs, IPAs that are, I suppose, lager IPA crossovers, really.
Yeah, we've done a fair few of those as double IPAs as well, with recently Mothman, Pukwudgie, and then this one. Yeah, I mean, one of the things is at Small Gods we're able to do stuff like that because we have you beautiful Beer Jerk subscribers to send them to, and yeah, those bigger IPAs that can be a little scary on the retail shelf, we get to muck around at 9.3% because, like as Luke said, we think that's where a beer like this should be. Those higher ABVs, and I mean Pliny's only 8, but for me, I think for us, that alcohol is a major character in a double IPA, and I don't really like shying away from that. I think it contributes so much. It's a platform for flavour. Alcohol is a solvent, so the hop flavours dissolve into the alcohol. So it's just creates a more potent flavour and the mouthfeel and everything. So yeah, I think the alcohol is important in the whole experience, really.
Yeah, it's a good beer.
It is a good beer. I love
Great
it.
work.
Amongst my favourite of the Small Gods beers that we've released, I think this one is. It's I'm immensely proud of this beer.
Yeah, it's bloody good. Anything to add, Joe?
Not much to add. I've been pretty quiet today. But
Well, why don't you
melting in the heat.
Well, why don't you tell the beautiful subscribers about the new Small Gods beers that we've got coming out?
Out now, yeah. On our web
mixed
shop,
case.
we've done a bit of updating to the Small Gods section. So we have 3 new beers out. One of them is a Hopfenweiss with all New Zealand hops. So that's like, you see a lot of American wheat beer around, which is sort of hoppy, clear wheat beer. This is very much German wheat beer style. So a lot of that ester character with that New Zealand hop sort of tropical stone fruit aroma. So that's tasting lovely. A big, thick mango lassi sour. Over half a mango in each can, which is pretty cool. And
If you get that one, I do recommend inverting the can.
yeah, give it a little roll.
There's a lot of mango in that.
And the last one being a lime leaf table beer. So we stupidly took a big break in the table beer series, in my opinion.
Been too long.
Yeah.
Too long between table beers.
So yeah, a lime leaf table beer from Matt's Lime Tree.
And some Sriracha Ace and Alani hops in there. So a really interesting kind of floral hop character, which it's a beer that I've made at home in the past that I've been really wanting to bring to Small Gods, and I'm so stoked that that's finally out. And just really happy with this round of beers, especially with this kind of weather. They're all really great, summery, flavorful beers that are really unlike anything else on the market. And yeah, couldn't be happier with this.